reminder, welcome everybody, and thank you for jumping on today. My name is Mike Condon. I'm the Vice President of Franchise Development here at HomeWell. I'm super excited about this conversation as usual, as it's always a pleasure to talk with Eli Collier out of Nashville, Tennessee. Her and her husband, John, have been with us almost 4 years now, correct?
For
And
years.
have expanded into many territories, and just excited to kind of go into their story and hear about their success and share some of their wisdom with us today. Just as a reminder, if anybody does have any questions, please throw them in the Q&A chat box below. We will not be opening it up for questions today, but we're happy to address those as they come in. So Eli, I know we do this all the time. Let's start at the beginning. If for everybody here, please share, how did you find HomeWell? What was that process like for you guys? And talk us a little bit about that.
Absolutely. So I had been with the same company in operations for 17 years. And one day, since we were all mostly working from home already, this was prior to COVID, they put half of us in one online meeting group and half of us in the other. And they told my group, "You've been laid off." And they told the other group, "Be nice to your friends. They all got laid off today." So they basically laid off all the people who'd been there forever and knew how things should be done. And it looked like a horrible thing, and it turned out to be the greatest thing ever, because that's how we found HomeWell. My husband suggested that I take the money I received from them and start my own business. We had family members who had franchised, and it totally different field, but franchise seemed like a good way to go. They really had some success with it. And so I started doing my homework, as anyone who knows me knows I am apt to do. So I started digging into franchises, and I didn't even know home care was a thing that existed. I hadn't had it come up in my life before. And when I found that, I said, "Oh my gosh, we can get my husband out of his corporate miserable job." He was a ethics and compliance director for HCA, and he was really good at it and really hated it. And so when I said, "We can do this together," we started crunching numbers, and we said, "We're going all in." And so we started looking at different home care companies, which means I started looking at different home care companies and telling John which ones we should look at. And 2 or 3 rose to the top. And every time we talked to somebody, HomeWell came back with the right answers. We said, "Well, what about this?" And they said, "We have a process for this." And I said, "Well, what about this? How do I learn this? Because I don't know what's going on." And they said, "We have that." And the joke was, "It's on the gateway."
Yeah.
So that became the phrase, "It's on the gateway." And it started where I was like, "So let me ask this, but I know your answer is going to be, it's on the gateway." And it is. So the fact that all the training was organized, it's professional, it was all there for me. I knew I was going to have my hand held, which is the whole reason for joining a franchise, is so that I wasn't doing this alone. And then we did our validation calls, and the people that we spoke to were open, inviting, friendly, welcoming, and had good experiences. And we were really comfortable at that point diving in.
So you guys decided to both go in together. You had obviously lost a job. John decided to move on from his corporate career. Talk about the mindset, because that's terrifying for most people, as it should be, right? You're going from a steady income to, holy cow, now what? So talk everybody through what that was like for you guys. What kind of and ask, what kind of conversations did you guys have at home? Because again, that's a very common thing that people go through and deal with. So what was that like for you guys?
It was scary. We would have been okay living on John's salary. It would have been a little less money for us, but we would have been okay. So the idea was that I had the time and freedom to start this business myself and kind of grow this on the side. And being with HCA, he had great health insurance. And so when I said, "No, I want you to do this with me," he was terrified. Losing our coverage, his steady paycheck. And I said, "We have this opportunity. You will get raises, you will make more money, but you have a cap, and you will always go off to work in a suit and tie, and you will come home miserable, and you will need an hour to decompress at the end of the day. And if we do this together, we can do it all together. And we're those people who love to work together." So it only made us stronger.
Yeah.
And it took some convincing for him. I was ready to jump off the cliff. He took a little longer to convince. But we kept looking at, yes, it's going to be hard for a while, but the upside is unlimited. Whereas you stay in the corporate world, you have a cap. Everything you do is
Mhm.
at somebody else's demand. You're on their schedule. We wanted to work for ourselves, and we were willing to put in the work and get the upside. And we're reaching the upside now. And I'll tell you, it's a lot of fun.
Yeah, yeah. It's always fun to talk about, when you get there, and you guys by no means feel like you've gotten there, but it's definitely a lot better now than it was, 3.5, almost 4 years ago. But walk somebody through that, when you got started, one, the training is a lot different than it is today than it was back then. I think it's still some of the similar components, but we've obviously um, done a great job. Michelle Cohn and her team have done a fantastic job of really morphing that into what it is today. But in what areas did you feel you were the most supported, or in what areas did you feel like we could have done a better job as HomeWell to support you as you launched your business?
I wish I could tell you something that you didn't do, but I felt like we had everything we needed. I know people tell me I sound like I drunk the Kool-Aid, but I did. I drunk the Kool-Aid of HomeWell, but it's because I have been supported every step of the way. Opening a new business is terrifying. I had run a business, and I use that air quotes very much because it was something I got a license for, and I published my sister's books. So it was not a real business. I hadn't really done anything. I have a guy who pays my taxes. There's not a whole lot going through it. So it wasn't like running a real business.
Mhm.
And that part of opening and not knowing the industry at all was
Mhm.
very scary, but we were told we would be supported, and every step of the way. I'm one of those people, when they say, no, it's okay, ask me questions, I did. And so I reached out to our assigned helper and said, I have no idea what this question's even asking in my application. And they went through it with me. They explained it to me, then told me a good way to answer it that made me not sound like a moron, which
Mhm.
was really nice. They helped me through all the state applications. They had a policy and procedures manual they handed us that had the highlights in it. So I just needed to go through the highlighted parts and put in our information. So I
Mhm.
did not have to start from scratch with any of it. And they had a schedule for me. So I had weekly meetings where we said, okay, this is where you should be now. What's this? How far are we on this? What have you heard from the state? How are we on licensing? Here's where you should be doing, getting ready to open.
Mhm.
And then once we were open, we still had support. We've got a dedicated franchise business developer who is our person. And we work with them anytime we have a question. We had scheduled meetings with them. We still have scheduled meetings with them. And that's what's really cool is, even though we're up and going now, we still have business questions. We still run into things that we don't know, or things that we think other people may be doing better.
Mhm.
And our business coordinator will put us in touch with those franchisees who are doing a great job with it, and we get to talk to them. Or we've had some people approach us with some opportunities, and it's really, really nice to be able to go to the franchise and say, have you heard of this before? Have you worked with
Mhm.
this? Who else has worked with this? And they go, oh, we know so and so has talked about this, or no, we haven't heard it. Let us do some homework and get back to you
Mhm.
about what do we think about this. So having those connections where someone knows all about the business side of it, it feels very much like we are not doing this alone at all.
Yeah, and I think that's, where you hit on it. The role of a franchisor should be to support you where you need support, and everybody's a little bit different. Not everybody has home care background, not everybody has a business background. In fact, 48% of our franchise owner have neither. Right? It's crazy when you look at the stats, and our role is to fill those gaps for people. And it sounds like for you guys, we've been able to do that so far, and our continued goal is to continue to do that, as as we continue to grow. So you guys launch your business. It's terrifying. You're ready. You work hard. What did year one look like for you guys? Because again, the biggest questions we get are around, how do I get clients and how do I get caregivers, right? I mean, it's two different, that those are always the questions you get them when you do validation calls. So what do you say to somebody during that first year? What does that process look like for each of those buckets?
Definitely the two sides of the house, as we call them. There's the client side and the caregiver side. And in the beginning, I'll say the first 3, maybe 4 months, you're sitting there going, I've been given this goal, right? HomeWell works with me to set my first year goal. And I know that 0 times 12 is not my goal. And in month 2, I can tell you that 5 times my my times 12 is not my goal. And yet we crushed our goal in year one. So those first several months we were leaning on them a lot, and that comfort of, this is okay, this is how it's supposed to go, you're good, you're in the right place, you know, you're not struggling, this is not a problem, was very comforting in the beginning, even though it's terrifying. Clients, I will say the biggest thing I can say is follow the sales plan that they give you. You can get clients. It takes time. You have to put in the time. And if you do the things that HomeWell lays out in the sales plan that Michelle Cohn has put together, is just phenomenal. And it is laid out. This is how many times you go. This is how often you go. This is what you say on each visit. This is the number of places and the kinds of places that you go. And those kinds of instructions, as well as the online training for the marketers that HomeWell runs, we shove everybody in those, because they're great knowledge base for all those marketers. And then the caregiver side is just relentless. The key is to be relentless. You are always hiring. If you ever think, oh my gosh, I have more caregivers than clients right now, I should stop hiring, you should hit yourself in the head with a hammer and go, no, that's not right. I'm going to keep hiring. Because they move on to other clients. You think you have them, but then the schedule doesn't match, or it's an area they don't want to drive to, or, oh, I got this thing that now I can't do that schedule, whatever. So constantly hiring, constantly working on recruiting, finding clients, getting those B2B relationships, slow, steady, consistent, and relentless. That's what brings them in. It is not a magic bullet. It is not, oh, I finally got this one company and they're going to send me all their business and now I'm done. Ever. If you keep doing the things every day, do the little things, that's what makes you successful. And so as we continued to do that and we saw that progress, we went, okay, I can do these things each day, these little things, and I can continue to make progress and grow.
Yeah, I think one of the things I love about this business is, to your point, it's not a quick fix business. It's relationships. It's slow and steady wins the race. And again, that's maybe not for everybody, because we're just not in that. But it's scalable and sustainable is the word I love to use. As you've continued to grow, the formula stays the same. You just get more efficient at doing it. And I think, your guys' success, and I think the success of a lot of our franchise owners, is because you just stay the course. And that is the biggest thing. So when we talk about, caregivers, you had mentioned that, on Black Friday, you picked up a bunch of odds and ends for your caregivers as kind of probably holiday gifts, things of that nature. What is in your mind, the key to, I think, not only getting caregivers, because I think you would agree, you can get caregivers. It's retaining the good ones that you want, right? That's more the name of the game than getting them. In your mind, how do you guys do that in order to retain the good caregivers now that you've been doing it a few years?
Retention is absolutely the key. Anyone who does the numbers will tell you it costs you way more to hire than to retain. So spend the extra few dollars to do what it takes to retain the caregivers. And you'll hear these wonderful numbers about, oh, this much percentage of caregivers turnover in 90 days, this many turnover in a year. And it sounds horrible, but that's the industry average. And there are lots and lots of companies doing, quote, what we do. But most of them are not doing it real well. And so it is not hard to beat that average. And it takes a few simple things to beat it by a good bit. The first key is to treat them like human beings. And I'll tell you, that sounds really simple and it sounds really dumb, but that right there will put you ahead of over 50% of the companies out there. It just does. I mean, you can beat the average just by caring about them. As much as the clients are your clients, your caregivers are your clients as well. I understand, yes, they work for us, but it's our job to keep them happy, to get them the hours they want. The demographic that we work with has different struggles than some other demographics that you might employ. And so you have to come understanding what they're dealing with. And when you treat them like a real person rather than a commodity, they stay. And simple recognition some small rewards. We don't do a whole lot of big prizes or anything like that, but we do like a monthly gift. And we put everybody in a raffle for it. But it's more about recognizing them, saying thank you, not always calling them just to say, do you want to go to work? Do you want to go to work? Do you want to go to work? But hey, how's the kids? Hey, I heard your car broke down. How's that going? Are you, how can we help? And
Yeah.
that doesn't mean handing over money. It just means being an ear. It means caring. It means sending a card or a handwritten note. So it's more a gift of your time and compassion, which in this
Yeah.
business, we should have plenty of.
Yeah, I always say to people that ask, well, how do you keep them? I go, just don't be a crappy boss. Like we've all worked for that person or people that are just there. Oh, you're only there for a number, right?
Yes.
Don't be that person. And that's, I don't want to say the magic sauce, but that's a big part of it. That
It,
really is there is no other thing.
it's amazing how much that works.
Yeah.
Just be nice to them. Treat them like people.
Yeah, it definitely is the key to happiness, right? I mean, the reason you go into business is typically because you've worked for that person or you don't want to work for those types of companies anymore. So just don't be them. And if you do that, I think you'll be fine. Um, let's talk about your organizational structure. So when you and John started, it was you and John.
Yep.
It was two of you. What does it look like today now that you're going into year four? Like walk us through what that growth has looked like. One, not only from what it actually looks like, but two, what does your schedules look like then versus now? Because it's vastly different, I can only imagine. And your flexibility and freedom for that, because you go into business to build something that you can eventually take a vacation, right? As you said, you just got back from vacation, you're going on another one. Walk everybody through what that transition has been for you guys.
So it is a 24/7 business. People still need help on Christmas Day. They don't go, oh, that's okay, I won't go to the bathroom today. It's Christmas. Nobody needs to come. So I mean, it is around the clock business. So somebody has to be available. And in the beginning, that's hard. You're taking care of a lot of that. We hired help from the beginning. So we hired a marketer from day one. As John and I are not good marketers, we will pull in the parking lot and go, I'm sure they're busy. I'll just come back later. Like we won't even knock on the door. We're that bad at it. So we, hire what you're not good at and what you don't like. That's really the key. The things he got to do, the things that he's really good at and the things he likes. And I picked up the things that I'm really good at that I like. He took kind of the marketing side and I took the operations. And we were just happy doing that. So everybody got to do what they like. So in the beginning, I was doing a lot of the day-to-day stuff. I was hiring, I was training, I was scheduling, managing operations and finances and all that fun stuff. As we grow, we hired to where we wanted to be. So we would look ahead and say, okay, 3-4 months from now, we think we're going to be at this point. How much staff do we need for that? And if we're good where we are, great, we're going to stay. But if that's going to be just beyond the reach of our current staff, we would go ahead and hire then for whatever that opening and need was, so that that person was trained, oriented, ready to go when the time hit that we were that big. So it was seamless. It wasn't this painful thing, because if you explode and then you also try to hire, you're trying to train and keep up with an explosion, that gets really, really, really difficult. That's hard. So just keeping an eye on the future, bringing in as you go. So originally we brought in a care manager. She was part-time until we needed her full-time. We brought on an office manager after we brought on a couple of full-time caregivers. And when somebody left, John was really good about going, whoa, we're not going to panic. It's fine. Somebody left. We'll fill in for a little bit. We got a good team here. And then we're going to take a look at what we need. So rather than just replacing the person who left, we said, what do we actually need now? And we hired something different than what left. And it allowed us to adapt and grow. So we weren't just stuck. The structure that we have now doesn't look anything at all like what we had when we first started, because we're a different business now, we're a different size. John and I are working far fewer hours these days. It's really nice. He goes and does our assessments. So he's working most days of the week, but usually he's on 1 or 2 assessments a day. So that's his day. And I have a director of operations who runs my office. She does almost all my operations that aren't my level.
Mhm.
We have a care manager who's full-time. She takes care of the clients, the care plans, the caregivers, make sure everybody's happy there. We have a part-time recruiter. So it's full-time recruiting is needed, but my office team splits the other half of that. So that's how it's divided out. So we
Okay.
have full-time devoted to recruiting and training,
Mhm.
but she does half of it. And then we have two marketers, and then we have me and John. And so we cover technically 5 territories now worth of space. And so let's see, we got back from a cruise in October. We traveled all summer for my son's travel baseball. We get to do that. We traveled earlier this year in February. We're going on a cruise this coming January. And then we also have next fall and the following winter's trips planned for Jamaica and Hawaii. So the ability to leave and know that your team has it covered is very comforting. That's something that as you go, you get these people in place who you trust. And
Yeah.
at that point, you get to step away. You get to work on your business instead of in your business.
Yeah. And that, that's wasn't that long ago, right? I mean, when you look at the grand scheme of when you guys decided to do this to not even 4 years into it, and you're able to have that flexibility, look at that from a corporate position. Like, are you able to scale and grow that quickly in a corporate job? I mean, I think just the advantages of that. It's work. I think you'll be the first to admit it. I know it is a lot of work in the beginning, but the reward comes much faster when you put in the effort up front. Um, the last thing is we're kind of bumping up here on 25 minutes. I want to be conscious of everybody's time. And if you do have any questions, please throw them in the Q&A chat box. Um, if you could go back and tell yourself what you know then, now what you thought then, what advice would you give your 3.5-year-old younger self, John, about this industry, or any advice you would give somebody that's kind of on the fence of, hey, is this the right move for me?
Well, my first piece of advice always is don't open right before a worldwide pandemic. That's just I would skip that one if I could. That was a no. We actually did fine through it. I will say HomeWell came together and everybody banded together, and that was our very first year, and we still beat our goal. So it was just scary.
Mhm.
But honestly, we've said over and over, there hasn't been a single day where we said to ourselves, uh-oh, what did we do? There have been hard days. There have been days where we're tired, we're overworked, we're trying to figure things out, we're worried about this, that, or the other, but never once where we thought we're not going to make it or this was a bad choice. We've always been confident that, yeah, this is where we want to be, and we're very excited. So if I had to go back and tell myself, I would say it's going to be okay. You're going to make it. Go ahead, do it, enjoy it. Jump off the cliff. It's not for everybody. You need to be the right kind of person who's willing to put in the work and put in the time, and you got to be able to change direction with the winds. You got to be able to adjust. You make these plans for where I'm going to be 6 months from now, and 3 months from now you change those.
Mhm.
And you make this plan for where I'm going to be 6 months from now, and 3 months from now you change those. And it's still important to make those plans, but you have to be able to adjust with what comes in. And if you can do that, if you can look at the long game, if you can do the slow and steady day to day, this is a great place to be. It is very rewarding when someone calls and says, thank you so much. My mom's last days were peaceful at home, and it's only because of you.
Yeah.
And the people you sent here to take care. And we get in the office and we just bawl together, and we're like, this is why we do this. This is rewarding. So yeah, it's hard, but it's not trying to sell people things that they don't really need. We're actually helping people. I feel good about what we're doing at the end of the day. Absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that hits home with the why, right? We always talk about the why. We can talk numbers and all this great stuff, business model and all that all day long. You're in this business because you're helping people and you're making your community better. And I know as a franchisor and from our side, those are the people that get us excited, because we want to help every person in every community through people like yourself and John and all of our franchise owners out there who just make a tremendous impact on the lives of the people we serve every day. So Eli, I can't thank you enough again for your time. All you do for HomeWell, but more importantly, all you do for the clients that you guys serve in the Nashville proper area. And as you guys continue to grow and expand, it's so exciting to watch and see. And we wish you all the continued success in the future. Happy holidays to everybody. If you guys have any follow-up questions that maybe didn't get answered today, please feel free to follow up with your development directors. We'd be happy to answer those as we see fit. And it looks like we had a couple of questions. Oh, nope. Everybody just said, congratulations, Eli. You guys are doing great. Keep it up. So that's fantastic. Thank you guys for joining today. Any questions that do come up, like I said, in the future, please feel free to reach out to your development directors. We'll be happy to answer those. And if you haven't done any validation calls yet and you want to speak with Eli, please just let us know. She's always helpful in those conversations with the good and the challenges, because it's a business. I don't care what it is. It's great days and some hard days. So thank you, Eli. Happy holidays to you and your family. Everybody, thank you and have a great rest of your Friday.
Thanks, Eli.
Thanks.